So you want to see this screen consistently, but you just can't seem to do it. Well, you clicked on the right video, because I'm gonna be showing you how to always drop the most damage and play like a pro with Scythe. And I know there's a video like this that was released about a year ago, so make sure to check out his video too. However, my guide is gonna be a little bit different, because I want to be focusing on making you play a little bit more aggressive as a Scythe main. And I'm not the best Scythe player, but I do get a good scoreboard record, so this is my tips and tricks on Scythe. First things first, you gotta learn how to utilize Scythe's M1s to its greatest potential. If you didn't know, Scythe deals more damage at her max range, dealing 74 damage per hit compared to 24 if you're too close. It indicates that by the satisfying crit sound it makes when you do it right. And it's something that you need to get used to if you're gonna be a new Scythe player, and it usually doesn't take that long, so don't worry. And yes, it's crucial if you want to get good at playing her like a pro. Without this critical damage, she's almost useless. For me, an easy way to always crit an enemy is to follow your opponent's exact movements. So let's say, for example, if they go forward, I'll go forward. If they go backward, I'll follow them backward. You know what I mean? That way, I'll always be at that critical distance from them. And it's important to always be jumping when you're using your M1s like a greasy chud so that you're harder to hit. And I know it's cringe, but it's the best way to play her. Now, as for her gun's version of her M1s, it's completely different. Her recoil gets increasingly worse the longer you hold fire. If you have problems with controlling your recoil in shooter games, it's better to use the gun in a burst fire mode by tapping your mouse instead. Most of the time, you're not really going to be using this, except when you want to finish off enemies that are far away, or if you want to chip them off from afar. And don't use the gun when they're nearby, because it's just more worth it to use your other abilities 90% of the time. Moving on, she's also going to have a shotgun ability, which deals more damage the closer you are, like a shotgun, going up to about 100 damage at its max. Now this is the only gun ability that you want to use when you're close to enemies. This ability is especially good when you're going against another Scythe player, because your basic M1s against another Scythe basically puts you both at the same critical range, right? If you think about it. I usually use this ability to finish off low enemies, or if I just happen to be close to an enemy when I have my gun out. And it's not worth using it on an enemy that has full HP or close to full HP, other than Scythe, because it's kinda slow to use it. And if you mess up with this ability, you can kinda get killed, which is annoying and frustrating, so be careful when you use it. Now as for the Q ability, which is the ray beam or sniper beam or whatever you want to call it, don't ever use it. It's one of the two bad abilities that Scythe has, honestly. It's only good if you're playing defensively, but then again, that's just lame, right? You clicked on this video to become a pro, not a defensive noob. The main reason it sucks is because after you use it, it makes you stand still for a second, which is terrible and makes you an easy target. Going back to the Scythe mode, we got the dash. What's interesting about the dash is that you can actually dash more depending on the amount of bullets you have. I would use this to catch up to enemies running away, and I don't recommend to use it to run away yourself, because if you're about to die, just die while you're fighting. It's more worth it than to hide and heal up. Plus, it chips your opponents down for your teammates, so don't be a pussy. It also can be used to attack your enemies because it actually deals damage, and is good when you're facing ranged characters because it makes you a harder target to aim. Don't use this ability when you respawn to get to your enemies quicker, because it doesn't really make you faster, since you pause at the end of this ability. Next, we have the slash. It makes you updraft into the air and you throw a projectile that also increases depending on the amount of bullets you have, just like the dashing ability. Pairing this ability with the dash makes you go even higher and lets you spot enemies easily to pick out the lowest enemies to target, which is what I usually do. But mainly use this ability when enemies are low and far away. It's way better than switching out to your gun because it's a lot quicker. I also like to use this ability as an offensive dash, letting me run away and deal damage at the same time. Now let's talk about her ultimate. Her guns version is quite useless, especially if you're trying to be more aggro. And honestly, I don't recommend you to use this when you're being defensive either. The area the ultimate covers is just too small to be effective, and it also slows you down, making you a sitting duck. Instead, always use the Scythe form's ultimate, as it's a whole lot better. It lets you go invisible, gives you speed boost, and lets you teleport to the nearest opponent that you clicked on, dealing damage at the same time. The simplest way to use this ult is by targeting the lowest enemy you can find. However, I like to use this ult right after I spawn because it lets me get into the fights quicker. And if you use it after you spawn, you basically waste no time, and I love it so much because it reveals so many extra damage and kills that you would have otherwise missed out on. You can also use Scythe's ultimate to target those players that are far away from the map and harder to reach if you don't have the ult. For example, like a hyper laser that sits somewhere far away sniping your ass. It just saves you the time from reaching them, and it also gives you an easy kill. Now this next tip is just for the very start of the game when everyone begins to move for the first time. Make sure that you never go directly into the center of the map whenever a new game starts. It only makes you a bigger target, and because Scythe is a really squishy character, she shouldn't be tanking all that damage. Instead, flank from the side or behind to take them by surprise. And also, for my last advice, always stick to one enemy if you can. Never go for multiple at once, because if you do that, you're gonna die without getting a single kill. Stick to one player and lower that player down and keep chasing, because that's the character that Scythe is supposed to be. Anyways, I hope this guide helps you become a better Scythe player, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out my Discord server, the link's in the description or the comments, and on that note, thanks for watching.